Hi everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another Sketch Sunday video. This week's sketch comes to you from My Favorite Things and there's a rough drawing of it, and as always there will be a link below in the more information section. It's sketch number 326 and today we are going to be using products from My Favorite Things. The stamp set is called Feel Better and we're going to be using the sentiment from that, and then I'm going to be using a bunch of dies from Bedside Comfort. We're also going to be using that We Are Memory Keepers embossing folder that has butterflies on it. I took a piece of paper and cut it into a triangle and used the butterfly die and ran it through my Cuttlebug so that butterflies were embossed on it. And now I'm just trying to find colors that will go well with some of the items. I'm going to be, there's a little glass piece there that I cut out from the Bedside Comfort set that we're going to put water in. So the first thing that I did was I took one of the sentiments from the Feel Better stamp set and it says, "Hope you're on the mend." And I inked it up with My Favorite Things Lush Lagoon hybrid ink, and I'm just taking a block that I've had lying around and stamping the sentiment, and I'm going to stamp it like it's in one continuous line. So I'm just going back and forth and inking up parts of the stamp and alternating on where these items are going to go. In the meantime, I'm cleaning off my mat so that I don't get stuff all over the place. I always get ink everywhere, and this is a little bit messy, so I had ink all over my craft mat. That's a non-stick craft mat from Tim Holtz. If you guys haven't seen it, I've got it. I believe I got it at Michael's in the scrapbooking section over by the stamps. So it's perfect for doing all kinds of inking techniques because it wipes up so easily. So now you're just going to see me, again, cleaning off the mat a bunch of times. So I'm just stamping that sentiment over and over again. So while I'm doing that, and I know it's kind of boring, I probably should have sped this up a little bit faster, but the craft card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It was actually 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I scored it at 5 1/2 inches, and so it's a side folding card. I normally don't do these, and I normally don't use craft cardstock, but I had some lying around that was the perfect size. I had cut it down from a card I made the other day, so I just decided to go with that and use that. So this, if you guys haven't seen any of the Sketch Sundays, this is something that I try to do every week, and it's a fun thing. If you post your sketch up to My Favorite Things blog, you can potentially win $20 if you use My Favorite Things products and $15 if you don't. So if you want to join in the challenge, they end Tuesday at noon Eastern time, and then they start up again on Wednesdays, and there's a new one every week. There's also a color challenge, and I believe that's once a month. I think they changed the color challenge. So I've never done one of those, so maybe I'll do one of those along with a sketch challenge in one of these coming weeks. So anyway, I am still stamping that sentiment. It took me a little while to cover the whole cardstock, and then you're going to see me do the bottom of it, but then also go at the top because I didn't exactly start it where I should have, so there's a little bit too much white space at the top. So after I do the whole thing, I'm going to go back and also stamp the top row. This is pretty boring, so I really should have made this go faster. I do apologize. I'm trying to get this done very quickly. I have my dad's retirement party on Saturday, so I'm trying to get a bunch of other stuff done. And that's why you can see my desk is extra messy, so I do apologize for that. So now I'm finally done that whole thing. I'm going to clean up the whole area and then get started on the bottom half of the card. So I'm taking this piece that I made a little bit bigger than the card base, the piece that goes on top, and I'm just taking my ATG gun and running the adhesive around the sides of it, and then I'm going to put it over top of where I want it to be. I'm going to cut off the edges once it's done. So I kind of just put the piece of blue paper on top of it and then just cut a little bit wide just so that I would know that I would have enough embossed so that I could cover the whole entire half of the card base or card front that I wanted to. So there you go. There's the card front. So here's the pieces. So now what I do is I'm taking the E97, and this is the the little tray die that comes inside there. It comes in 2 pieces so that you can give it some dimension. So I'm just taking that E97 Copic marker and going over the score lines. Those are the edges where it would be the darkest. And I'm just trying to give the item some dimension. So I'm also going to go inside of the handle because there would be a shadow there from the handle. So I also wanted to include that. You can't really see it in the final product. So it was kind of a waste of time, but I did it anyway. So now I'm taking some pop dots and putting it on here. Now, if there's one thing that I regret doing on this card, that was it, because I did not take into effect, one, you could see it from a couple of the angles. You could actually see the pop dots. And then the other thing is I did not take into account that the pop dots would not allow some of the items to slide underneath the handle, kind of like I needed to with the tissue box. So you'll see me cutting down smaller pieces. They do have different size dimensional dots. These are from Michael's. These were from either the $1 or $1.50 bin. So very inexpensive, but I use all of them. I even use the pieces that are outside of the pop dots. There's actually scraps that are left, but you can use all of them. So now I'm just taking the backing off of it and I'm going to put it on top. And then that's when I realized that that one solid pop dot that I used was a little bit too big and it was just kind of getting in the way. So there's the piece, and you can't really see it from there, but once I put it onto the card, I realized I could see it. So now I'm going to kind of adjust things in a minute, and I just kind of played around with them. I took that big pop dot off, cut it in half, and then put the pieces on there just to make it a little bit more steady, because there's one spot, once I did this, cut it in half, there was one spot that was a little bit, it kind of dipped. So just kind of covered the whole back of it with the pop dots and again put it up there. And then I'm going to start with the pieces. So I cut the bowl out in 2 different colors of red. So I thought the interior was going to be lighter than the exterior. So I'm using a design marker. It's called a Premier marker by Nicole. And these are from AC Moore. It's in cherry, and I'm just going around and putting some shading on things, some highlights. Just like to do that to give the die cuts a little bit more realistic look. So just giving it some shadows where the lip would be and things like that. Taking my Zig 2A glue pen and putting the top of the bowl on top of it. And the bowl is done. And then the next piece that I'm going to work on is the tissue box. So for the tissue box, I was practicing, I was looking for some colors that would be close to that blue. Now if you notice, the blue is the same color blue as the piece that I embossed. Now I'm using a B7 hashtag coloring marker that I got from Michael's to just go around the sides of the tissue box to give it some dimension. Now we're going to be using some cloud. The tissue is really cool. It actually has some embossed lines in it. So I'm just taking that cloud marker and then the blender pen and going back in and doing some shading on where the tissue would be folded over. After I'm done that, I'm going to take my Zig 2A glue pen and I'm going to put a little dot of glue where I to hopefully hold the tissue down. And it's really neat that you can actually thread that through so it can look like the tissue is coming out from the top of it. This set is super, super cute. And here's when I realized that these pop dots are going to be an issue. So I've just kind of played around with some things and tried on some placement, and you'll see eventually I try something else to fix it. So I decided not to use that hashtag coloring marker. I am using the Copic marker B00 to put some water in the cup, or what looks like water. And then I'm also going to be going back with the Cloud Design Marker, the Premier by Nicole one, and going over just giving the cup a little bit of shading on the sides. And then I'm taking my blender pen and blending it all together so that it gives the effect of it being a little bit whiter, or like a see-through glass. That's a good tip when you have white items that you don't really need to color because you're using white cardstock. You can always go around it with a very, very light gray, and it will give a little hint of shading and it'll make it look a little bit white. You'll make the image look whiter where you don't have the gray. So now I'm just putting the pieces in, and then here we go. I realize that I can't do that. So I'm going to take my scissors, I believe, and cut one of the pop dots so that I can actually stick the box of tissues down into it. And I'm getting frustrated here because I couldn't do that. So there we go with the scissors, and I try to do it later on with the craft knife, but that doesn't exactly work out, so with the bowl. So I just kind of stick things, kind of, you know, so things are behind each other. So it didn't come out terrible, but it's not the optimal placing that I wanted. So really, I kind of got mad with the pop dots there, as you can see me making faces. So unfortunately, that was frustrating, but that's what happens. You know, it's a design as you go kind of thing. And then I put the bowl on, and there's a little spoon that comes with it that you can always use. I just wanted to use a couple of the items from there. So I'm going to take my Zig 2A glue pen and put some glue on the back of it and adhere it to the card front. And then I'm going to use my ATG gun to put tape on the back of it. If you notice the tape is white, it is the tape that is the acid free, which is the ones that I need to use for pictures. I'm doing the project for my dad right now for his retirement, so that's why I'm using that one versus the other one. So we're attaching it to the front, and that is the card for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below, and I will see you again soon. Oh, I'm sorry, I stamped the inside. Wishing you a smooth recovery in the same ink that I used for the Hope You're on the Mend, which is the Lush Lagoon. So I will stamp the sentiment, and then that's it for the card. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!